Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Random Chatter. We are recording this on Sunday, October 18th, 2020, and I am joined tonight by Tim and Eric. Tim, how are you this evening?
I'm doing well. Had a fun few days, last few days, and now back home and getting things reorganized and regenerate,
Back to work.
re-energized. That's the word I was looking for.
Energized?
For the work week.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice. And Eric, how are you? You're looking kind of glum there for a minute.
Glum?
Well, perplexed.
Looking a little glum,
Why
chum.
so glum, chum?
Yeah.
Wow.
Look at that.
Wow.
Oh, great minds think
I can see where
alike.
this episode's going.
Right down the toilet.
Right downhill.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. Wow.
So, no, I'm doing okay. It's been a rough week, but it's 2020, so you roll with the punches and you keep going. So I got some job hunting
been a rough...
maybe to do. I got a lead on something I've got to check into.
Oh, awesome.
So
awesome. It's been a rough year, Eric. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. But the problem is every week seems like a new year. This is like the decade of 2020 with just within itself.
It seems like it's been a long time for this year. It also seems like it's like where'd the year go, which on the latter part there, I'm happy it's almost over, but it's like, wow, it's been a long time, but it seems like the year has kind of flown by at the same time.
And then at the end of 2020, something is going to come up on your screen and saying 2021 coming soon to a theater near you. 2020
Chapter 1.
Yeah. This was just the trailer.
And we're getting into the movie. In the chat room, David had asked us if we're doing. David asked us about doing our preview episode. This week we are not doing that. We are still doing those. I was on vacation most last week. I think Tim was away too for a lot of that time.
So these bozos didn't watch anything. So there's nothing to talk about, David.
Exactly. Nothing to talk about. Yeah.
Blame these guys. The fact that I saw very little is not the point. It's these two.
This is true.
Yeah.
But we will be bringing those back and kind of going over stuff we like to watch. And I got a bunch of stuff on my list.
Yeah. I started a couple of new things. And I've been playing Star Wars Squadrons, and I'm on the last mission of the story mode. And I feel like once I complete that, then I can graduate to multiplayer. And I'm really looking forward to multiplayer. Okay. So you two guys.
I really need to get myself a joystick because I can't fly with that stupid controller. I just can't. I overshoot everything.
And you're doing a PS4 as well. So I was going to say, well, you can use a keyboard and mouse on the Xbox apparently, and a lot of people are saying that they're having a pretty easy time with controls using a keyboard and mouse.
A mouse is a lot more controllable than the little thumbstick on the joystick.
You need to move this far, you move the mouse that far, but with the thumbstick, you need to move. You need to hold it and then let go at the right time.
Overshoot everything. Right.
But only hold it so far. I really want to get a flight stick. I love the game now.
I need one because the flight stick would make it. You have more control over that. It just feels more natural. I don't know. I'm
looking forward to the multiplayer though, and I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos on strategies and stuff, and it's like it looks like it'd be fun if you didn't get the strategies, but if you do get the strategies, there's a lot of depth there, and there's a lot of potential stuff that. Like you can span the entire range of being not skilled at all to being highly skilled and still have fun with this game.
Okay.
So
that's cool. Yeah, no, I am not as far into it as you are, but I'm loving the game. I just want better controls.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah. Well, let's get right into our news since we haven't watched anything new.
Yeah.
Tim, this first one kind of deals with you in your part of the country. New York State is going to be reopening movie theaters. Yay! Or no? Is that good or bad, Tim?
This weekend, the governor announced that cinemas can reopen on this coming Friday, the 23rd of October, under certain guidelines that are going to be released with more clarity early this week. But basically, what has been said so.
What has been said so.
Yeah, Tim is freezing up. Yeah.
So often, so long.
Do you hear me now?
So.
Yes, we can. Love it.
Yes. Okay. All right. So I'll let that get edited. So there's an announcement this weekend by.
Really? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 2020. This is the year of everything. Literally everything.
Yeah.
Literally poisonous caterpillars in Virginia. Like it just keeps getting better and better.
Worked perfectly for Echo Base.
Yeah,
Now,
it did. Yeah. Tim, how are those movie theaters going?
Yeah. Shall I start over?
Just got to pick up where you left off. We won't even edit it out. This is just, I think that this is part of what people love about coming here to Random Chatter is it's real. It's like you guys out there are going through this kind of stuff too.
Uncut.
Exactly.
No.
All right. So, yes, reopening Friday, October 23rd under some guidelines that are going to be more specified earlier this week. They're going to be able to operate at 25% capacity or up to 50 people per screen. Concessions will be allowed to operate. This will apply to counties with infection rates below 2% on a 14-day running average. And right now, this does not include New York City, which is kind of dealing with a small surge of infections. Not anywhere like what they had earlier this year, but they are running a little hot right now, and they need to kind of knock that down. My take on this, I think this is absolutely ridiculous. Clearly, Europe is embroiled in what seems to be a second wave. Other nations around the world are, other states around the country are. And yes, while I understand they have that stopgap there of that 2%, staying below that 2%.
But this is a good way to get back above 2% again.
Why invite it?
Yeah.
Why invite it? Just stop. We need to not be going forward. We need to be backing off, and either keeping things the way they are or potentially even restricting things. Even if it's just for a few days or a week or whatever, when these hot spots come up, we really shouldn't be opening things back up right now. I'm very disappointed in this. Very disappointed.
Yeah, one of the things that's been frustrating and I get it from a standpoint of the owners of businesses, they want to reopen. They have to get things moving again, or they're going to just close up and go away forever.
Sure.
But at the same time, you can't just do that willy-nilly and then have a pandemic, blossom again like it has been. There's that fine line between damned if you do and damned if you don't, I guess. But Connecticut has been running some theaters open. Not all chains are opened up here in Connecticut, but the ones that are doing social distancing. I think Eric said you've got some movie theaters down by you that are reopened up at somewhat partial capacity.
Not very many. I've been to 2. And again, this was after I had already been sick and gotten through it. And otherwise, I don't think I would have gone at all. And I'm not recommending people go. But not looking at what they did with the air filtration, which is a question. And it was on their website. I mean, I could have looked it up and everything. But I will say that they did well with the social distancing. And I actually watched some of the cleaning, and I've felt comfortable that they did well enough with the cleaning. But 2 things. Number one, there's an old saying that I like to abide by, that you don't gamble what you're not willing to lose.
Yeah,
I think that's the most important thing. And then number 2, which kind of ties into number 1, there's nothing out there you need to see right now. The only thing really compelling as far as like the type of thing we would talk about and recommend to people really is Tenet. And the audio mix is literally physically painful. Wait until you get it at home. There's no reason to go to a theater right now. And listen, I more so than anybody else, you have no idea. If I vented about my personal life, we'd be here all night. It's hard to just sit at home and never go anywhere and do anything. I've been doing that since before the pandemic started. It sucks. I understand the desperation to get out. There's nothing at the theaters you need to go see. Now, are they doing a good enough job? They're doing a better job than I expected. I can't say whether it's, quote, good enough or not. But again, it's not worth the risk. There's nothing in the theaters anyway. Go do something else. Go to the park where you're outside. Right. You know, go for a jog, do whatever. I will say this. So AMC theaters, apparently in a bid to try to like not die, you can, in a lot of places, rent an AMC theater for as low as $99 for up to, not that it needs to be this big, but for up to a group of 20 people. If you have family and you are in close contact all the time anyway, and are confident that, like, if you all live together or like your sister is babysitting your kids or something like that anyway, then going to the theater isn't going to matter at all. If you wanted to rent out your own theater for $99, okay, I could see maybe doing that because you are controlling the people you are exposed to. You're actually bringing them with you. And then there are only a limited selection of movies you can pick from. I think the range is from $99 to $250, depending on what movies you want. I'm not endorsing this plan. I only saw it reported in the news, but.
And that's actually a really good rate.
It really is. I mean, if you think about a family of 5, if you were to get tickets for $12, that's $60 there. And that's in a theater with a bunch of other people. You're getting your own theater. So if you have kids who are like unruly and noisy during movie theaters anyway, you don't have to worry about. And a lot of times, I guess that can include food and drink and stuff too. The $99. I don't know. I don't have the details, but it's a good rate for 20 people.
You know, yeah, it isn't. It isn't bad. It's just it's still that risk of going out, and I
But again, if you're bringing your own people with you,
want to go out and do stuff.
That radically mitigates the risk. Theater,
it does, but the people that are still there, the people that were there before you, if the cleaning wasn't done 100%, I mean,
you're
I was
gambling
really
on them actually cleaning properly.
Yeah, right, right. And I didn't, just because of the fact that I think it's too soon, but also I'd feel really bad if I had to call my boss at work and say, I can't come in today because I was exposed to COVID.
Because I was an idiot.
You got to close the rest of the store down too, because everybody else was exposed to me because I was there yesterday after I went to the movies the night before.
You leave that part out.
That's where I got exposed.
You leave that part out too. You guys, get with me after the show. I'll tell you how to call into work. Okay, you guys obviously need some training here because that's not how you do it, Lou.
But it's just there's so much at stake right now. It's just really tough to do that. And there was an article that I had seen before. I didn't have a chance to put in the show notes today, but I think it was an investor at Disney talking and pleading with them kind of to open it up and start doing more movies on Disney Plus. Big stuff that's been pushed off, like Black Widow and so forth.
Well, that's actually one of our news items is they're going to do that now with Soul, the upcoming Pixar film that was coming out at Christmas. And they are now releasing it apparently on Christmas on Disney Plus. So they're yanking that from the theaters and doing exactly that for a big Pixar release.
So Tim and I were talking over the weekend about this, and it's the same kind of thing where if they said, hey, this movie's coming out, and I really want to see it, and they're going to give me a chance to see it for $40 or $30 orders, like they did with
Mulan.
Oh gosh, Mulan, yeah. No, I didn't want to see that, so I didn't pay the money for it. But if they put out something like Black Widow, sure, I'll give you $30 for it or $40 for it and see it. Tim's yup. That kind of thing is, we're already pushing things off a year now. I don't know. Do you just keep pushing things off until we're back to normal? I mean, this morning I heard they're saying that they don't think that there may be a vaccine before the end of the year. They don't think it'll be widely available until third quarter of next year.
Yeah.
So that pushes a lot of stuff off until that's out. I mean, we keep saying that's kind of the magic bullet to get us back to reopening things because you can get stuff out there when you feel more comfortable going out. But
right. Yeah. By the way, the chat room, David confirmed Cinemark is also doing that sort of thing, and the $99 to $150 and reduced price concessions. That's for Cinemark. Okay. And then Joe pointed out, I'm in 40 homes a week. This is part of like what he does professionally. I won't be going to movies anytime soon. It's too risky for my customers. I mean, that's another good point too. when we're talking about just attending movies in general, it's not, and this is part of what people need to understand about the entire situation overall. It's not just you. It's not just whether you get sick. It's who else you also give it to.
Eric. Eric.
Yeah.
It's not you, it's me.
I've been telling you that for years, Tim.
Oh, okay.
He finally listened. I'm so happy.
He did. Okay, we have some more Kanye news. It's not actually what were they thinking, but it is Kanye news.
Okay.
Kanye and SNL having a little bit of a spat back and forth. Now, was this past week's episode, Tim? Because I didn't see this yet.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. So, let's see.
Uh-oh. What did he do this time? You know, we never talked about, while you're pulling it up, we never talked about this on the air. Back in the day, on Random Chatter, we had, I don't think we talked about it. We had our What Were They Thinking segment, which we've skipped quite a bit when we've got like big news weeks and stuff. And for a while, like a solid year and a half nonstop, Kanye West seemed to dominate our What Were They Thinking segment. And then later, earlier this year, I guess, it came out that he had mental health issues. And so we have kind of put a moratorium on any sort of Kanye West mocking or joking or something like that, because, here at Random Chatter, we feel like mental health it's a very serious thing. And there was a lot of like crazy stuff he did. And, we stand by being confused as to why he made some of those statements or took actions he did and stuff. But when it comes to like making fun of it, that's not something that we're going to be doing anymore here on the network. So now that being said,
I want to qualify that a little bit, because having a mental health problem does not preclude
discussion is fine, but we're not going to mock him.
No, right. Yeah.
We were pretty openly like joking around and stuff about like kind of mocking him early on. And that's the part we're not going to do.
Yeah. No, we're not mocking him. We're, when things like this come up, we're definitely going to talk about it.
Sure.
And there may be some jokes. I mean, those jokes are not going to be oriented toward his mental health.
Right.
But there also comes an extent where it's like, okay, when someone has a track record of saying and doing things that are so far out of line, and hey, sometimes it is released that there's a mental health issue. Sometimes it's not stated that there's a mental health issue. I think we can still be critical of people with certain things. I mean,
sure.
When someone like this, again, like you said, Kanye has had this history of these outrageous, outlandish things for years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's absolutely fair of the world to be critical of these things. We can still have some.
And when he puts them out publicly,
acknowledgement. Yeah,
you're inviting public commentary.
Yeah.
Right.
We can still have some acknowledgement and sympathy for the mental health issues, which I totally agree with you, Eric. Those things should absolutely be taken seriously in that particular context. But I'm also, to that extent, I'm not going to hold back on being critical of the things he's doing, because he's still doing them.
Yeah. I mean, so what
someone who's going out and, shooting up a building, they clearly have a mental health issue.
And it does not make them any less responsible for having.
Exactly. So
what kind of mess
we can still be critical, and I know obviously I'm taking it to a particular extreme, but yeah, like but
it's important to clarify for people, what our network stance is on it, because of we've done certain things in the past, we're doing it differently going forward, but you're right. So what is this thing with? I did not hear about this. So what's going on between him and Saturday Night Live? I'm scared to ask.
On the show, in the sketch, they had a fictitious talk show going on.
Yeah.
And they were slamming Kanye's chances in the presidential election, because he's a candidate in some states.
Yes.
Because, he responded back Sunday morning about this, saying that SNL uses black people to hold other black people back. Not sure what that means.
Okay.
Yeah, especially and gee, that totally makes sense when SNL for decades has been promoting black comedians and black artists and musicians that they've been featuring and actors and that kind of stuff, along with a number of other minorities. I'm sorry, SNL has been one of the most
Are you ready? Are you ready for this?
Venues out there.
I'm gonna hop in.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know that he's wrong.
What?
In a certain perspective. If you look at a lot of the comedy that SNL has done historically featuring black comedians, and especially this was rampant back in the days of Eddie Murphy and Joe Piscopo and stuff like that, it uses a lot of black racial stereotypes as the comedy. So I can understand where relying on black stereotypes for comedy can be a way to be dismissive about those stereotypes or make it really easy to laugh them off, to quote, move on. So to be clear, I disagree that poking fun of his presidential campaign is bringing black people down, because I think they're kind of poking at him as an individual, not as the idea of a black person becoming president, because I don't know if you guys paid attention to the previous president, but I mean, go look it up, find Wikipedia or something, right? So I think this was centered around him. I don't think his statement reflects this situation. However, if you zoom out quite a bit, I think there's at least a discussion there to be had about his statement, not just with Saturday Night Live. I think there's been a lot of comedy that's been very embracing of racial stereotypes. And today, I think it goes a little bit beyond that to actually do some commentary on the stereotypes. If you look at a lot of stand-up comedy specials now, but for years and years and years, SNL was promulgating that more than anybody else. And yeah, especially if you go back and look at some of the older stuff, it was there.
But a lot of that was written by the cast members.
It was. No, it was. But does that change the fact?
Time. No, but it was a different time also. And there was a lot of stuff that was done, ages ago that would not be acceptable at all. And you're today. Right. In fact, what was it? Is it last weekend was the second episode of this year's SNL, and I forget who the host was.
Chris Rock.
In his monologue, no, the second episode.
Chris Rock was the first.
Chris Rock,
right? Okay.
Yeah, I forget who it was, and it was some funny stuff in the monologue. But I was like, a couple of times he's going, I'm like, oh, he's going in a direction that doesn't seem very, very good for this time and date in where we are, and he came out of it okay. But there's a couple of times I thought, he's going. No, he didn't go there. Whew.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's Chris Rock. Chris Rock has always.
Well, no, you're talking about.
He's always been.
I'm talking about episode 2.
He's talking about the episode after that.
Oh, okay.
By the way, the Chris Rock episode gotcha. Apparently was the second largest premiere in 12 years. Wow. 7.7 million viewers.
Well, and so I'm not sure if that's all Chris Rock or if that was the fact that, hey, pandemic, and we have a cast
no,
back
I'm sure.
in the studio again.
Right. No, I'm sure it was a lot of that. But I mean, also Chris Rock returning to SNL is a big draw. I'm sure it was a combination of both. But the point is, I mean, yeah, it was a big night for SNL then. But
so episode 2 was this? No,
but I think
that
this was more. I mean, Kanye, I think, has always been quick to kind of lash out about why things don't go well for him and blame it on being held back in cases where it might not so much be that he's being held back as much as maybe he needs to take a different approach to what he's doing.
So the second episode this year was Bill Burr, comedian.
Oh, okay.
Was the host.
Not that familiar with. I know who he is, but I don't like keep up with his stuff.
Yeah, but he had a couple times. It was like, okay, but but you know, and SNL has always kind of been on that line, always trying to do that, push the boundary, but not go over it. You know, and I think that they do that pretty well. And like Tim alluded to earlier, they're also about, you know, making sure minorities have a voice, making sure that we have bringing light to, you know, injustices racially or injustices from, you know, the gay and lesbian community and what have you. They're very much in that space.
True. Yeah. However, the diversity thing, they've always been good about. The pushing the line, though, it does go back to what you said. They're going to push today's line. And 10 years from now, when they look back on today's, and I don't think anybody needs to necessarily be damned for it, but that is not going to fit in with culture 10 years from now, maybe the lines that we're being pushed today in 2020, just like today in 2020, if we go back to some of, we'll use Eddie Murphy again as an example, like the Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood was one of the things mentioned in chat here. And you've got some, you know, the old, Buckwheat sings the hits, the classic, like the Time Life catalog music commercials that were popular back then. Like there's just over and over again. And at the time it was really funny, but today it's really, really tone deaf. And there was a lot that it was all based on racial stereotypes. And while it didn't promote it, it made fun of it, making it clear that those are ridiculous stereotypes. It also made it very easy to be dismissive of it at a time when people were living through those stereotypes as part of their day-to-day lives. So, yeah, I'm not damning anybody for what they did back then either, but I do get that comedy in general, not just SNL, it's really tricky when it comes to how it treats race. And comedy's always been pushing the boundary of good taste. Like if you look back to 9/11, there was a big conversation going on in the comedy industry for stand-up comedians and stuff like that about when is it okay to talk about 9/11. And there's a certain psychology there about gallows humor that was being brought up in the comedy industry and say, hey, you know, for a lot of people, that's a coping mechanism. And they're saying, sure. And for everybody else, it's a triggering mechanism. So trying to find that balance is tricky. So anyway, I guess my point is, like, I think Kanye's wrong about this instance, but if you zoom out a little bit, I mean, it is there.
It's there in the fact that it's history. And like, I think it was Bill Maher, he always talks about how you can't really judge what happened before by today's standards. We can't go back and rewrite this part of that movie because, you know, Gone with the Wind or where, you know, Song of the South or whatever, because you can't. It's history. It's the way it was done then. And you can't judge that by today's standards.
That is true. In fact, you mentioned that point, and this isn't in our show notes. You remember the little text in front of some of the Disney movies saying, warning, this movie may contain cultural appropriations that are no longer relevant. And remember all the controversy about, well, that's vague and completely not understandable by kids, especially. Now there's actually a much longer introduction talking about, like, you know, this has to do with cultural and racial stereotypes that are harmful. And it's important to have discussions about these things. And so that's why we're leaving this untouched for the purpose of being able to reflect back and blah, blah, blah. So they actually are taking the time to make a longer introduction, something that is more meaningful and makes more sense. And they're still not bringing back Song of the South. Since you also mentioned that.
And
I don't think they should.
And that's their prerogative not to. I agree with that decision. But, you know, those disclaimers in the front or the text they're putting up there, that's more for the parents. So maybe the kids can understand it, but the kids aren't supposed to. It's the parents should be understanding this, and the parents should have a discussion with the kids before they watch it or not.
No, my comment about the kids not understanding was just more like it was so, like, they tried to pick as many really long syllable words as they could. It was almost like legalese instead of something that would actually mean anything to the viewer.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right.
There is also the issue, and it's very interpretive, and it obviously doesn't make these things any less sensitive. But when you look at, especially a lot of the stuff that SNL does, SNL is satire. Most of satire is geared toward politics and society.
Yeah. Good point.
And so when they are doing things that include stereotypes against anyone, it is typically done to bring those things out and to make people realize how ridiculous they are.
And that's an important point. The difference between satire and parody is that satire is designed with the purpose for sparking a conversation and providing commentary.
Yeah. And granted, I'll say that there a lot of times viewers aren't getting that. And they're like, oh, hey, look, there's this, they see a stereotype and they say, oh, it's funny because it's a stereotype. And hey, you know what? I've laughed at those things too. I'll admit that. I'll say the vast majority of people who have watched this stuff have, right, wrong, or indifferent.
If not, SNL wouldn't have been around. Like the ratings were good because people laughed.
Yeah. But a lot of it is also social and political commentary. And when you look at some of this stuff, if you take a step back, particularly after the episode, after you've seen it, and you take a step back and maybe you look at some of these sketches and you realize, wow, they're actually saying a lot about this. They're commenting on how absolutely outrageous and ridiculous this particular thing is that they were talking about. And, that's the spin that they're actually putting on it. Yes, they're writing comedy, but the particular brand of comedy that most of these things, not all of them, that most of these things fall under is satire. Now, I'm not going to dismiss everything they do outright, simply saying, oh, well, it's satire. That excuses everything. No, there is certainly some measure of sensitivity that they have to have. And comedy and a lot of other arts have traditionally, pushed boundaries and stepped over those boundaries at times. And sometimes they get spanked for it. And other times they're allowed to do it because freedom of speech, because satire, because whatever other excuses there are out there. So I just kind of wanted to frame that.
Yeah,
that's a really good point.
Within that particular context.
And SNL has done some pretty, has some pretty risque guests on. I mean, the most prominent one I can think of was probably from the 90s when they had Andrew Dice Clay on. Very controversial comedian, very derogatory towards women, but they had him on as a host, right? I mean, they didn't have to. Should they have had? Probably not, but they had him on. I think it was the first person they had ever with a tape delay, so they had a mute button for that because they weren't sure what he was going to do.
Yeah,
but I'm like, so why did they take that chance? They did it because he was making money and he could bring in viewers and they could sell more advertising.
And controversy always gets ratings too. So.
Exactly.
So one other thing before we move on, and this is back to Tim's point about satire, you also have to look at things like In Living Color. When you look at a lot of the comedy they did, they also, in a lot of ways, were poking fun of black stereotypes, and yet it was a black produced show, black written show, black acted show. They had a couple of what we could turn the tables and call token white people on the show. Jim Carrey, and I forget the woman's
Jim
name.
Carrey, yep.
And that's kind of where Jim Carrey got his rise to stardom, right?
Totally.
And it was a great show. I used to watch it like every time it came on. It was satire.
It's damn funny.
Though it was hilarious, and yet it also had commentary to be made on those things that they were making fun of. And so that was not, I don't think that was black people taking advantage of black people. I think that was black people reflecting the world around them and how they're being treated, and then having something to say about it through comedy. And I believe, especially if you look at the work that the various Wayans did after that they took that really seriously.
Oh, they did.
So
and brilliant stuff. Absolutely brilliant stuff.
So anyway, so that's another perspective on this, and I'm glad you brought up the point about satire because, but it's good to have these discussions, and
definitely.
especially with comedy. Comedy's so
it totally
delicate and tricky sometimes when it comes to this sort of thing. So
yeah, it can be.
And we've even had a lot of these discussions. Back in the day when we used to do improv. We've had some of these discussions with our improv classes, like, hey, when is it acceptable to do certain things, or how far can we take something? And it's a really interesting thing. I mean, our improv coach is a professional Hollywood writer.
Yeah.
He's done sitcom writing and stuff, and it was really big on that. And it was kind of this, don't restrain yourself, but also be aware at the same time. And I think that the big thing was always don't go for the obvious joke.
Which is a good rule anyway in comedy.
Right. Yeah, it's a good rule anyway, because it gets the audience, like the audience will expect that you're going to go from A to B, but instead you go from A to D, and they're like, oh, wow, where did that come from? That makes it even funnier because it was unexpected.
Right.
But so often that obvious joke, because of simply our life experiences and what we've been exposed to, are oftentimes those stereotypical types of things and things like that, because that's our brain we've been exposed to so much of that, we go to that automatically. Can it be funny? Yeah, sure, it can be funny. And again, I'm not necessarily excusing these things, but I also can't throw a blanket over it and say, oh, well, none of it is acceptable.
Right.
It kind of depends on what it is and what the context is and all that kind of stuff. But
keep talking.
Right. Yeah. And when you think, if your brain goes to something, then think about what the next thing is.
Right.
And so much of what we've done in class is someone will mention I say chair, and Lou, I want you to say not the first thing that comes to mind, but the second thing that comes to mind for it, which then could be something completely unrelated. It could be apple. And it makes you think, well, how the hell did you get from chair to apple?
Right.
But in your brain, you did, because you went from chair to something else, and then that something else then brought you to apple. And that's what gives us that unexpected. And that's what also helps, I think, mitigate some of that stuff too. So,
but either way,
okay,
I think it's important to understand the nature of comedy, like what you were just talking about, Tim, the nature of cultural stereotypes, the nature of coping mechanism versus triggers. Like these conversations, it's not a conversation we have and then we resolve it and we move on. We need to continue. We collectively as a society need to continue having these conversations. And we need to keep talking.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah.
Keep talking. Definitely.
Anyway, speaking of keep talking.
Yes.
Yeah. So next story up is Die Hard. There was a mysterious video tweeted by Bruce Willis's daughter. Yeah.
Rumor Wilson.
It was a 15-second long clip, and it showed, a much older Bruce Willis than we had in the franchise from Die Hard. Mm-hmm. Looks like getting caught up in some bad stuff going down. And then later, I think as of today, maybe or yesterday, there was another video released that was a longer 2-minute ad for Die Hard batteries. So yeah, no movie, no.
What year was Die Hard released?
88, maybe?
When was it? 88, yeah.
Okay, so 32 years for them finally to make a Die Hard battery connection?
You see,
32 years? Really? Speaking of writing in Hollywood, that should be our what were they thinking? It took them this long. We were making those jokes as kids.
Yeah.
It was
88 was when the movie was released, by the way.
32 years. Really?
But it was a cleverly done
it would have been 32 years ago.
It really was. It was well done. I mean,
just saying.
it had a shot of him crawling through an air duct.
Right.
And this is his daughter that posted. Isn't that elder abuse?
Well, yeah, it is. Well, she posted the teaser, so yeah, it's
right.
a 15-second clip, but then the full clip is like 2 minutes long, or they call it a movie.
Yeah,
Die Hard ad.
Just what we need. Commercials turning into mini movies instead of like no more. We went from 30-second ads to 15-second ads to movie trailer length.
Didn't they do that in? Was that the Demolition Man? They had. Oh no, that was song. Theme songs for products.
The jingles on the radio.
Yeah.
The actor who played Argyle, the
limo driver
from the first
movie.
he was in this also, and he was driving a limo, and actually at the end Argyle says yippee-ki-yay, and then Bruce Willis / John McClane kind of jumps in and says, "Hey, that's my line."
Yeah, cuts him off before he gets to the payoff word.
Our audience members can't see my eyes rolling. It's very disappointing. Our audio listeners.
It was cute. It was funny. I'm
Did they exchange Christmas presents?
Why didn't they make this link 30 years ago?
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's cool though that they. I mean, better late than never, I guess.
Yep. So Tim, you have the Google Home Assistant at home, right?
Indeed.
Do you sing to it?
No.
Do you hum to it?
Nope.
Huh. Well,
I'll swear at it when it doesn't do what I want it to.
I've witnessed that. I've witnessed him doing it. And Lou, you and I had an interesting conversation with his Google Assistant.
We had a very interesting. Yeah.
I recorded that.
Was not
part of it.
That was funny.
Wow.
But yeah, so evidently now, I mean, you can use Google for a lot of things, and you can hum a song, and it will tell you what it was.
Really? You have a Google Assistant, right? If I hum something right now, you want to try it? Do you have a way to?
No, I got my headphones in. I can't really adjust. Yeah, no.
That sounds interesting.
So Tim, have you tried this yet? I mean,
I haven't. I have not.
Let's see. So Google can now identify a song by your humming. Yeah, I don't think this is a. Who's going to do this, Tim? Really?
I was actually going to try to get you to do it right now.
I'll do it.
No.
Well, next
After you finish humming, our machine learning algorithm helps identify potential song matches. And don't worry, you don't need to be pitch perfect for this feature. All you're doing is annoying me, Eric. Because Google can't hear you right now. Here, wait.
I've got a sore throat too, so that's not helping. Plus, now we're probably going to get banned from YouTube for. Does it count that we were providing commentary on the service? Does that mean that we won't get banned?
Yes.
I'm curious now whether we get a takedown over this, because with my luck.
I don't even think the YouTube algorithm could pick up what it was that you were humming.
Kiss my what?
I think we're going to be okay.
What were you humming?
It had to be you.
Oh,
Frank Sinatra. Harry Connick Jr. did a version of it from the When Harry Met Sally soundtrack, which is from a movie, which brings it back around to Random Chatter. Thank you very much, Lou. Wow. Just saying.
Wow. Okay.
So
Google would have understood.
One more service Google can do for you. Yeah.
My humming's not that bad.
Slow news week. Did you guys, either one of you guys, watch Dexter when it was on?
3 episodes.
7. What?
2 episodes?
Did you get bored? Did you get bored?
I did, in fact, get
bored. Do I hear
bored.
one episode?
I wish I'd bid on that. It was fine. It was
Dexter?
okay. Like, yeah, whatever.
No, I did not. Wasn't that he was a mortician or something?
Who was also a serial killer. But he was a medical examiner during the day. No, not a medical examiner. He was a forensics. Like he would do like blood. Blood splatter pattern.
He was actually a blood spatter expert.
Okay.
And he was a serial killer, but he's also catching other serial killers.
Serial killer by night. Yeah.
I thought it was a good series. We watched.
Yeah, I mean, I respect it. I just, it wasn't my thing.
Well, then you're probably not going to be very interested in the fact that Showtime has ordered a limited revival series.
I thought it was interesting. It sets an interesting precedent.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I like the series. I thought Michael C. Hall did a great job.
Yeah, he did.
As Dexter, he was good in a creepy sort of way. But you rooted for, even though he's a serial killer, you rooted for him because he was a good guy for part of the time.
And now
too.
I think what's probably why I didn't really connect with it is I'm obviously not going to root for a serial killer, and it was hard to. I don't know.
Okay. Hey.
Did you root for Darth Vader at all during Star Wars?
No, not really.
Really?
Yeah,
I did.
Even as Anakin,
really?
like.
I mean,
okay.
And Boba Fett isn't a villain.
Trying to reconnect with his son.
So. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, I'm glad that the Dexter fans have this to go back to. I mean, that's great. Like, legitimately, I'm happy about that.
Yeah. So production is going to start in 2021, and hopefully we'll see episodes in the fall of 2021. So
awesome.
Keep your eyes open for that. Amazon, I think just yesterday, greenlit a series, a remake on the series. Remake of the movies for I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Awesome. Next.
Yeah. I'm like, you could do a story without having to use that same name, but money.
Yeah, but I mean, the concept was pretty simple, and if they're reusing the concept, they might as well use the name so the rest of us know to stay away from it. It's like a precautionary titling. It's the way I look at it. I'm very grateful. Thank you, Amazon.
Hey, I thought the first one was okay.
The first one was okay. It was okay.
Oklahoma's okay.
Oklahoma. Oh no, saying no, and we're gonna get
don't say
we're gonna get banned from YouTube because I can't even say that was commentary. Other than it was an example used to provide commentary about YouTube banning things due to copyright takedowns. There, so now I did the commentary, so now we won't get taken down.
Oh, good.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
Tim, what else you got for us? We have a Jennifer Hudson story here coming up.
We do, yeah. She is going to be playing Aretha Franklin in a biopic on Aretha Franklin called Respect.
If only they could find somebody they could sing well, because I mean,
yeah.
Never mind.
She is amazing. No, she was what, a Idol winner, American Idol?
Yes, yes,
yeah, or runner up. I think they did.
So the thing is, obviously, she is an incredible casting choice, and the great thing is reading this article in Entertainment Weekly. As it turns out, Aretha Franklin, when she was alive, this is back after Jennifer Hudson was on American Idol, Aretha Franklin actually said, "I want you to play me, like in a movie."
Wow.
Oh wow.
And Aretha Franklin passed away a couple years ago, and so like this is something that has come true. And
awesome.
it is just an absolutely perfect casting.
Oh,
Jennifer
absolutely.
Hudson is insanely talented, and I think it is just perfect for her to be playing Aretha Franklin. I think it's great. I love it.
Definitely. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm just sad she did Cats, because that was a.
I'm sad anybody did Cats.
It did not help her out at all. But yeah, she's done some amazing stuff. I mean, Dreamgirls, she got a lot of respect for.
She does so well though that Cats can't hurt her career. So.
True.
True.
Because I think the thing is, so many people basically just dismissed Cats. Like they either forgot about it, or they didn't see it, or they don't care.
They wanted to forget about it.
Yeah. So I think they just, okay. Doesn't really matter who was in it.
Yeah. All right. We're
okay.
About 50 minutes. Do you want me to go through the lightning round? I will try to see how few breaths I can take.
Bring it around.
Okay, ready? Let me take a couple deep ones here just to get... Okay, here we go. No Time to Die release moved to Easter of 2021. F9, the Fast Saga moved from Easter of 2021 to Memorial Day. Andy McDowell has been cast in the upcoming Netflix comedy drama series called May. John Cena and Idris Elba teamed up for Head of State from Amazon Studios. Cobra Kai gets an early season 4 renewal at Netflix. Last Week Tonight gets renewed at HBO for 3 more seasons. Netflix has ordered a Good Times animated reboot from Seth MacFarlane. Raised by Wolves gets a second season to HBO Max. Amazon has announced a spin-off series for The Boys set in a college designed for young adult superheroes. Disney Plus is putting Soul from Pixar on stream. We already mentioned that. The Price is Right removes its audience, and Joby Harold from Army of the Dead is developing Space Mountain at Disney. I did it in 2 breaths.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, I have a question though.
I have several.
A couple of those things we've talked about.
Okay, and I wasn't here last week, so I figured that could be the case.
Yeah.
So the Price is Right removing the audience.
Price is Right is, for the first time ever, for reasons of COVID, they're removing the audience.
But
That's how they get the contestants.
Play
when they say Tim Riker, come on down, and there's
Then
nobody in
he's
the
going to
audience.
calmly walk in from backstage and said, "Yeah, I already knew you were going to pick me. I've been waiting in the green room for like 15 minutes now. What's the holdup? Come on, Drew."
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Okay.
Like that's. Of course, that's not the big news here to me. Space Mountain.
Yeah, we talked about that one quite a bit last week.
Did you? Okay, I'll go back and listen. That one just confused the heck out of me, but
Yeah,
Us too.
it's so. I mean, basically the nutshell of what we talked about was like, okay, there are things like Pirates of the Caribbean where, sure, that begs some stories.
right.
Jungle Cruise, yeah, certainly you can pull some stories out of that. Space Mountain, what do you do with that? Don't know.
Right.
But
Yeah.
good job on the lightning round, though, Eric. That was you were
I
on
actually
it. That
made a
was
couple of
fast.
mistakes. I probably could have done it in one if I'd trimmed a little bit of it and read it differently.
No, that's
your
I
your
think you
first
did great.
2 were a little bit shaky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's fine print, and I should have zoomed in more on my iPad, I think, before starting to read it, because I tripped on F9, the Fast Saga.
Can we
I'll get
just
better.
can we take a moment with this Boys spin-off series
Yes.
being
Yeah.
an irreverent R-rated series that explores the lives of hormonal competitive soups as they put their physical, sexual, and moral boundaries to the test? Really, do we need that? No, I don't think so.
It's being done by Seth Rogen, which also means yes, please.
I am so hit or miss with Seth Rogen.
Well, true. I'm with you there.
Because
Yes.
the thing is, everything that Seth Rogen does revolves around marijuana.
But he's not
everything he
actually
does-
doing this. He's producing it. There are going to be other people doing the writing and other people doing the directing.
Okay.
So it's not him. You're right. It's not him writing it. He's just allowing the writers to make it happen. He's producing it. And I love The Boys. I've got to go back and read the comics, but I love that series. I'm all in for a spinoff. And this is, so when he was talking about it, he pitched it based on a lesser known Marvel like superhero college thing that kind of flew under the radar, but it was like all of these weird, like D-list, can't quite make it as superhero characters. And
Okay.
so I'm kind of thinking it's kind of like if you combine
It was like the community college version of Professor X's school.
undeclared with yeah. I don't know. I'm thinking this could do well.
It
Hope it
could. It
does.
will do well with the younger audience probably, and it's basically going to be a CW show, but R-rated.
I hope it'll be better than
I
that.
don't think we need it. I don't think
We've gotten a lot of things we don't need, Tim. So of
That's
all the
true.
things that we don't need, I'm happy that this is one of the things we're getting what we don't need. I did mention F9, the Fast Saga. So if we're going to talk about things we don't need.
Oh, we definitely don't need that.
Right.
The Fast and Furious series should have been canceled after
Long time
the
ago.
first one.
Yeah.
But it's making money.
This is true.
Because
I will
suckers
grant
keep
them
buying
that.
tickets.
They're
because
smart
money.
enough that they like money.
They should release that in the theaters next month.
It'll make 10 million.
Right. And it'll bomb and they won't make any more.
Tenet would be nothing compared to this. Seriously, this thing would make 10
I
million.
feel bad for Tenet.
People would drive to other states simply to watch it because that their fan base is significant. Even their fan base even knows that the movies are bad.
Can we wrap this, please?
And, you know, like according to like Connecticut law for the whole, you know, banned states thing, it only takes you to spend more than 24 hours in that state. So if you drove to some state that had it,
that's what I've got to figure out. When my son comes down for Christmas, do I just like drive across the border into Virginia once a day and he's good?
I think so.
I mean, that's almost a serious question.
That's how the rule's written. It's if you spend more than 24 hours in that state or that county, then you got to quarantine. But if it's less than 24 hours, then you don't have to worry about it.
I mean, I'm happy to get out of this state anyway. I'd gladly leave the state every day. So I'll look into that.
Yeah, anyway. I don't understand our rules regarding that.
So that's it for the lightning round.
That's it for the show.
All right.
So, chat room, thanks for being here. You guys were great, keeping us entertaining, you entertaining us.
Sure. Yep. Helping us help you, help us help you.
What he said. You can also get more information about us by going to randomchatter.com. Of course, we have our YouTube channel, randomchatter.com/YouTube. You can see all of our smiling faces on our channels now. We do there. You can like and subscribe to our network and our feed, and kind of, you know, more videos. What are you pointing at?
The people watching this on YouTube, I'm pointing to the subscribe and like buttons, Lou. You old people wouldn't understand. We young people get it.
Point to stuff that they put on the screen, like, you know, like things.
No, the subscribe button is like right down underneath this, Lou. Jeez.
Anyway. Well, guys, thanks for listening. We're going to come back at you in about a week. Hey, stop playing with my nose. Stop it.
Okay.
Just okay. That's what he says.
Okay.
Okay. That's all, folks. Thanks for listening.